Talking today to author Malia Diana, and she's going to talk to us about some good old girl talk. How did you start writing, get into relationship writing?
I used to love writing when I was young. It actually was something very dear to my heart. My parents told me, "You're going to be a writer one day." And I laughed at them. I said, "Oh, yeah, right." But it was always kind of embedded in me. I even tried going to college for it. I went to communication classes, and it was just alienated topics that were no interest in me. I wasn't saved then or anything, so God was kind of working with me and over these years. So it really wasn't until I had a very toxic relationship with a man. I kept getting into relationships with men that were unequally yoked. I didn't really even understand how to date God's way, what that looked like. I thought a Christian man is a Christian man, right? That's not always true. A Christian man is a godly man. He's chasing after Jesus. And I never even knew what that looked like because it was never modeled to me ever. So it wasn't until I got saved and had a relationship with Jesus that he showed me how to look for that. And helping people my whole life, as far as, I've worked in physical therapy as a physical therapy assistant. I've been a personal trainer. I love helping people. It's embedded in me. It's who I am, but I know that the Lord, the last few years, was telling me to leave. He has something different for me. And I kept ignoring that calling. And it wasn't until COVID happened that I was like, okay, he had to lay me flat out on my feet for me to say, okay, because I had nowhere else to go or nowhere else to run.
I mean, God has his way of getting us to where we're supposed to be, because I do understand the hesitancy, the reluctancy, but at the same time, I'm listening to you and looking at the things that you've penned. Your work is so important. Women, single women, divorced women, widowed women need to hear what you have to say. How do you heal internally from past relationships?
He is our healer. And this is, I think so many people run to different things, different idols, men, drugs, alcohol, whatever it is, to try to get that healing that they need.
How would you say to today's single woman, how do you attract a godly man?
This is why I do what I do, because it's not one single thing. It is, the work I do is transformational. We start, what's your childhood like? Usually a lot of this stuff is subconscious beliefs that were embedded in us as a child, stuff we don't even really understand or realize what's going on. There's certain stuff, even with relationships with men, that we carried. We repress them, we suppress them. We say we forgive, we say we do, but if that person brings up their name, it might still make you cringe. So that right there tells me you haven't healed in that area. There's still bitterness in their soul. And I was guilty of this, Cynthia. I did. I was guilty of this. So I was that woman for a long time. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm good. But we sometimes point fingers, right? Because we don't want to take accountability. Accountability is huge. So that work comes from some conscious beliefs. It comes from, our wound patterns. There's a lot more than just telling one person, oh, this is how you're going to heal. Everybody heals in different ways. It's a process. Signs of emotional abusers, sometimes those signs aren't always crystal clear up front. One thing I say, if you're in the online dating world, if you're on or offline, right now it's online, right? And I just wrote an article about this with Dating with the Wounded Soul for Brains Magazine. And I said sometimes it might be a good thing to date online because we're not throwing ourselves into that fleshy, needy desire. We're actually taking a step back and maybe talking like you and I are and getting to know that person. Narcissist, oh man.
I recognize the signs of a narcissist.
Big one for me. A sign of a narcissist, again, is not always sometimes clear, but he likes the attention on himself. He's a big flirter. He'll wine and dine you, give you everything you want to hear, but you really need to guard your heart with any kind of man going into a relationship. And I tell my girls, know your deal breakers. Know up front when some of these questions, just be honest, but have them a conversational way. Don't make it like an interview. You know, it's getting to know somebody, but there's things that you could recognize asking simple questions like, how are you and your mom's relationship? Do you have kids? How are their relationships? You know, are you on this site? Are you looking to date, marry, have fun? Are you looking for somebody to marry? There's questions right away where you could ask somebody and them giving their answer. You should know what kind of relationship they're going to want.
He's always taking the conversation back towards him,
Yeah.
making
Yeah.
it about him. And that's the last kind of person in the world you want to get connected with. Someone,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
makes it all about
There's
him.
so much to it, Cynthia. That's why I work one-on-one, because everybody's a little different how they work, how they operate. But there is little things in there when you're going into that date, what you could ask, some of the signs that are coming out, some of the signposts.
Mhm.
Most of it is, I'm all about equally yoked relationship.
Mhm.
Now, a godly man is not going to be perfect. We're not going to be perfect, but we're chasing after God's heart. And that's huge.
Mhm.
That's huge. When you're aligned, you know, this way vertically, then horizontally is going to be great.
Unfaithfulness. What do you say to the woman who's been hurt through unfaithfulness and is having trouble trusting again?
I mean, I've been there. Who hasn't, right? I've been unfaithful. To give it all to God. It's forgiving. Forgive yourself. I think that was huge for me. Forgive him. But forgive yourself for allowing that kind of man in your life. That's huge for me when I was like, why am I allowing these kind of men in my life? That was a big question, a reflection moment for me.
What do you say to the woman who's afraid to go back into that place of maybe childhood or where the wounds were made? How do you tell her to, you know, look, if you really want to get here, if you really want to get that, you know, you're going to have to do some work, put in the work. But she's like, I don't know how. What about the woman, who's been so damaged, so tortured or whatever, to where she don't know how to let go?
Yeah, I just had this question kind of yesterday in a different way. And if you're not vulnerable, it takes great vulnerability to do it. And if it's scary and it's gonna hurt, and I tell that to people, you're gonna cry, but you have to release it. You have to release it. If you don't release it, it's like insanity. You keep doing the same thing over and over again. So if you don't release it to somebody, you know, Jesus, you know, talking to somebody about it, it's going to continue to stay there. And the devil's just going to have a field day with it because he's going to have you stuck there.